The cross was not the first horror Jesus faced that night. The cup was. That is where Mark takes you. Not first to nails, not first to soldiers, not even first to the mockery and the blood. He takes you into a garden, into the dark, into the place where the Son of God falls to the ground and prays. Listen to Mark 14. Then they came to a place which was named Gethsemane, and he said to his disciples, "Sit here while I pray." And he took Peter, James, and John with him, and he began to be troubled and deeply distressed. That language is not casual, it is heavy. Jesus is not only thoughtful, he is not collecting himself before a hard day, he is entering anguish. Then he says something almost unbearable. "My soul is exceedingly sorrowful, even to death. Stay here and watch. If you move too quickly, you will miss the shock of this moment." This is Jesus. He has faced storms without panic. He has faced demons without hesitation. He has faced hostile crowds without flinching. But here, in Gethsemane, before a whip has struck his back, he is troubled and deeply distressed. Why? Because the deepest suffering of the cross was never going to be only physical. The Romans knew how to make death hurt. Crucifixion was public torture. It was meant to humiliate, weaken, and break a body in full view of the world. But many men have faced physical pain with a kind of grim resolve. Some have even gone singing to their deaths. So what is happening here that drives Jesus to the ground? Mark tells you. He went a little farther and fell on the ground and prayed that if it were possible, the hour might pass from him. Then comes the center of the scene, and he said, "Abba, Father, all things are possible for you. Take this cup away from me. Nevertheless, not what I will, but what you will." The key word is cup. In the Bible, the cup is often an image of what God appoints someone to receive. Sometimes it can mean blessing. But in the prophets, again and again, the cup becomes the cup of divine wrath. Isaiah speaks of the cup of his fury. Jeremiah speaks of the wine cup of this fury. The Psalms speak of a cup filled with judgment for the wicked. This is not random suffering. This is not fate. This is not bad luck closing in on Jesus. The cup is the measured, judicial response of a holy God to sin. And Jesus knows it. That is why Gethsemane matters so much. It tells you what kind of death Jesus is approaching. He is not only going to suffer at the hands of men, he is going to stand in the place of sinners before the judgment of God. That is the terror in the garden. Notice too that Jesus calls God Abba, Father. There is intimacy there, trust there, nearness there. He is not collapsing into unbelief. He is not doubting the Father's power. In fact, he says the opposite. All things are possible for you. This prayer is not a crisis of faith. It is the cry of perfect faith under unimaginable pressure. He knows the Father can do all things. He knows the Father hears him. And he knows the cup is still before him. So when Jesus says, "Take this cup away from me," he is not resisting obedience. He is voicing the full human horror of what it means for the sinless one to bear sin's judgment. The one man in all history who never deserved wrath is preparing to drink it. That matters for how you understand the cross. If Jesus died only as a martyr, then Gethsemane becomes hard to explain. Why this agony? Why this collapse? Why this plea? If the cross is only an example of courage, then many have appeared calmer than Jesus on the eve of death. But if the cross is where the spotless Son bears the curse deserved by his people, then the garden makes sense. The sorrow fixed the mission. And still, do not miss the glory hidden in the trembling words. "Nevertheless, not what I will, but what you will." That is not resignation in the weak sense. That is obedience in its purest form. Jesus is not trapped. He is not cornered by history. He is not swept along by political forces he cannot control. He is yielding himself to the Father's saving purpose. Willingly. This is why he came. Mark keeps pressing the scene deeper. Jesus returns and finds the disciples sleeping. He says to Peter, "Simon, are you sleeping? Could you not watch 1 hour? Watch and pray, lest you enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." Then he goes away and prays again, and then again. 3 times the disciples sleep. 3 times Jesus stands alone in the burden of his calling. There is something painfully human here. The closest friends he brought with him cannot stay awake in the hour of his anguish. They are weary. They are weak. They do not understand the weight of the moment. And that failure does not just tell you something about them. It tells you something about you. You do not naturally grasp the cost of your salvation. You drift. You dull. You sleep where you should watch. You speak boldly and then collapse under pressure. That is the human condition standing in the moonlight of Gethsemane. Weak flesh, unsteady love, failing attention. And right in the center of that weakness stands Jesus, not failing, not fleeing, not sinning, but praying his way toward the cup. He does what Adam did not do in a garden. The first Adam faced a choice surrounded by abundance and brought ruin through disobedience. Jesus, the last Adam, faces the cup surrounded by sorrow and walks the path of obedience that will bring life to others. One garden became the doorway for sin to enter the world. This garden becomes the threshold where redemption moves toward its appointed hour. Then Jesus says, "It is enough. The hour has come. Behold, the Son of Man is being betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. See, my betrayer is at hand." Hear the change. The trembling prayer has not ended in retreat. It has ended in resolve. The cup has not been removed, so Jesus rises to drink it. That is why he had to die. Not because love needed a dramatic symbol. Not because Rome happened to be cruel. Not because evil men temporarily won. He had to die because sin is real. God is holy. Judgment is just. And the Father had appointed the Son to bear what his people could never survive. The garden tells you the cross was planned. The prayer tells you the cross was chosen. The cup tells you the cross was judicial. And the obedience of Jesus tells you the cross was love. Real love, holy love, costly love. If you want to know what your sin deserves, look at the cup. If you want to know what the Father required for your salvation, look at the cup. If you want to know whether Jesus went unwillingly, listen again. Nevertheless, not what I will, but what you will. He went for sinners. He went awake, aware, and obedient. He went knowing exactly what stood before him. And because he did, everyone who trusts in him will never drink the cup of God's wrath for themselves. He drank it down to the dregs. He took judgment so that mercy could be given without violating justice. He stood where you should stand so that in him you might stand where he deserves to stand. This is not a small salvation. This is not a sentimental religion. This is the Son submitting to the Father in the darkness of Gethsemane so that rebels could be brought home clean. So do not look at the garden and only admire his courage. Look again and see your substitute. The cup was yours. The obedience was his. This is extreme faith. Until next time.